Welcome everybody to our BNI Talks webinar. My name is Steve Januzzo, your host, and today I've got three of my best pals in BNI, Jenni, Butz, Gina, Herald, Andrew Johnson, and we are talking about growth. We did a poll a couple of months ago, and we asked, what is the biggest concern in your chapter? And 70% of you combined to say adding members and then converting visitors into members. Those were the two biggest things. And so here is the best of the best I've got here for you today, who are going to be talking about these exact things, among others. And this is really a real focus on the last part of the year and making sure that we don't let the opportunity to grow slip through the cracks. So with that, and I love it when I have Jenni on because I pretty much get the week off. So Jenni, I'm going to monitor the chat, hang out in here with my pals, and then you can just take it over and do what you got to do. So,
all right.
What about you?
Well, thanks. Yeah, Gina and I have done this a lot together in the last 5 or 6 weeks. So this is very familiar. We're actually kind of twinning today, as we have done before when we presented. Maybe some of you have been living under a rock and you don't know who we are. So I thought that I would just let you know at least the perspective from which we come as we're talking about leveling up for growth. Level Up is a campaign that we are using to emphasize this great time of year when we do traditionally see a lot of growth in our regions, because business owners tend to be aware of the last quarter of the year. They are looking for last minute opportunities. And because you are a new leadership team, or if you're a member of a chapter, you're in a chapter with a new leadership team. And we love the fact that BNI leaders come into their chapters saying, we want to change everything. We want to change the world. We want everything to be great. And so we're going to leverage that momentum. And so Andrew Johnson is our US Core Launch Team Director, and he is overseeing across the country all of the launches that are happening in the US Core. And Gina is the brainiac of the world and helping to make sure that we have content for all of our trainings in a variety of places. And I have been helping very specifically with the US Core training team. So we are here from our various perspectives globally and nationally in the US to kind of just bring to bear the things that we have seen, what we know from BNI trainings, global statistics, as well as field experience, to help you with your chapter experience, but more importantly, with your member experience as a business owner, as a professional. So all of these things should work together to increase your business, because what a coincidence, that is the mission we have for BNI. Our mission is to help our members increase your business. And we do that with this thing called BNI, which is a structured, positive, and professional referral marketing program. And that's how you are enabled to enjoy those long-term relationships that you have developed in your chapter and beyond. And so everything we're doing, we have to say this over and over and over again, everything that we're doing is to help you be a better you in your business. We want you to have an improved quality of life as a professional. We want you to be smarter. We want you to have the choices that you want to have. And that is part of the structured, positive, professional referral marketing. We want it to work for your business, not just as a side hustle or a hobby that you have. Because these are the things that we happen to know from working with lots of chapters around the world. We know statistically, it is not subjective, it is not our opinion. We know that larger chapters generate more referrals and revenue for members. You are going to spend 90 minutes a week in your meeting. You are going to be having one-to-ones. You are going to be doing a lot of the things that we measure in the Power of One because successful members do them. Wouldn't you rather do those things and get more referrals and more revenue rather than doing the same things and getting fewer referrals and less revenue? So we know that this is true. That's why we talk about adding people to your chapter. We also know that in addition to adding people, which is what we call fill in the BNI vernacular, that chapters that keep quality members, that means they have a higher retention rate. You have members who are renewing for 5, 6, 10, 20 years, year after year. Those chapters get to spend the time marketing their businesses, passing referrals and making money, and they spend less time going, we need to invite, we need to fill the contact spheres. So again, you're spending the time, even if it's just talking about your 90-minute meeting, you're spending the time doing the thing Wouldn't you rather spend more of that time passing referrals and making money and less time shaking the bushes and trying to get more members to come into your chapter? And finally, very specifically, we know that full and active contact spheres account for between 50 and 70% of any given member's referrals. So we want those contact spheres in your chapters to be balanced so that lots of people have the opportunities to find the referral partners they need to meet their business goals because they have the right people in their meetings week after week to pass referrals. So these are the things that we happen to know because of what we've seen in chapters all over. This is not just us pushing some propaganda or agenda on you. We know this from almost 40 years of watching what chapters are doing. So we want to help you get there. We also know that we have to talk about growth. We have to talk about what makes things bigger and better, because we know that your members sometimes move away because of jobs or families or other opportunities. We also know that sometimes they actually scale themselves out of the possibility being in your chapter because they didn't plan for that. And sometimes if we're not having a great member experience, which I know a lot of you have heard Gina and me talk about recently, the member experience is part of the pure BNI honeycomb. If they're not having a great experience for whatever reason, they don't stick around. And people lose their referral partners, and we don't want that to happen. We also know it's a reality of business that if you have no new business, pretty soon you have no business, because our customers leave, they move away, all of the same things. Sometimes they're not happy. Sometimes they don't need what we do anymore, but we constantly need an influx of brand new business. So you hear us talk a lot about growth, but what I want to underscore is why growth is a good thing. Healthy organisms grow. We are at the end of our growing season in most parts of the country, so it's probably not as evident. But in the spring and the summer, we see that plants are progressing and they are growing. And the same thing is true if you have children. You know that if they are healthy, they are growing at a certain rate. You have your wellness checks with your doctor and say, oh, he's a little bit low on the scale, or oh, he's really had a growth spurt. Same thing is true with animals, all kinds of things in nature. They grow when they are healthy. And if that's true of individual organisms, I would proffer to you the philosophy that says even healthy organisms could do the same thing. That could be true of your business. It could be true of your chapter. But we know if we're doing healthy things within an organization, it allows people to have opportunities, like they can scale their business by hiring people or buying more vehicles or opening another location. They can get time back in their week to do whatever they want to do and take a vacation or spend time with their families. So if our mission in BNI is to help members increase their business, this is what we know is true. So if that's what we know, here are the things that we want to do within our chapters. Then I'm going to turn it over to Gina to talk about some very specific opportunities we have for you to do that. We want to create opportunities within your chapter. We want you to be able to meet the people you need to meet in order to grow your business. We want you to have resources so you have opportunities to grow and scale and learn the things that will help your clients. We also want to provide whatever we need to do to keep those referrals coming, whether it's helping you really dial in your weekly and feature presentations with training, or if it's just keep bringing people in so that they can bring you the business you're looking for. And within our chapters, because it's a healthy thing that makes money for everybody, we want to be sure that everybody in every contact sphere has the people in that chapter they need to keep getting the referrals that they want so that they can meet their business goals too. So that is true everywhere. And I just wanted to kind of set that up. We are looking for healthy things for you because our mission is to help you increase your business. And so I am going to turn it over to Gina, and she's going to tell you about some of these opportunities, especially now in the fourth quarter, that you can be thinking about for your chapter in order to meet those goals.
Thank you, Jenny. Great to have all of you here with us today. Good day, BNI members from around the country. All right, let's talk about some ideas for growth. Jenny, I love that you brought up the fact that BNI isn't just your referral network. It is a place where you can find resources to scale your business, a place where you can find resources to get back time in your business. if you need to outsource some administrative work to maybe a virtual assistant or someone like that, or perhaps you want to outsource your credit card processing or your bookkeeping. So BNI is more than just your referral network. I mean, referrals are amazing, and they are, by the way, according to our founder, the most cost-effective way to grow your business. However, there is so much more to BNI. And we have some ideas that we want to share with you for growth, because in the spirit of leveling up, it's a great way to think about finishing the year strong and putting yourself on the next level as you head into 2024. So if your chapter really wants to build some momentum, we love visitor events, because that brings a bunch of people into your chapter at one time and gives you an opportunity to talk about your business to all of those other local professionals. And it gives you an opportunity to grow your chapter exponentially, maybe even in one growth event, so that the next thing you know, you've got a lot of momentum and a lot of new referral sources in the chapter and a whole lot of connections that maybe you didn't have before that. Or the contact sphere challenge. We know that about 50 to 70% of your referrals in your chapter will come from those people in your contact sphere. Those are the people who are interacting every day in your target market, but they're not competing with you for business. So you're a natural resource for them. Here's what we see sometimes, though. We've got one contact sphere over here that has 6 or 8 people in it, and they're just humming along and getting referrals and giving referrals, and everything's going well for them. But maybe on the other side, we have a lone chiropractor or a lone event planner, and they don't have the same referral opportunities and the same potential in the chapter as those of you who have a lot of people in your contact sphere. So in the spirit of our core philosophy of givers gain, we might do a contact sphere challenge where we focus on the smallest contact sphere first, and we help those people build a referral team inside our larger referral team, which of course is our chapter. Or if you prefer a gamified experience, and who doesn't love a good game? I like to level up my games. Just pop in the chat what video game you're playing on your phone right now, maybe even. But pretty frequently as sort of something to take your mind off all the things that are happening in your business. In all seriousness, though, we have a tradition in BNI of doing things like a BNI game, and we have reimagined the traditional BNI game into a BNI bingo game, because who isn't familiar with bingo? So whether you call it Beningo in your region or BNI Go, because we're going to grow and we're going to do all these great things in our business next year, or whether you just call it bingo, it is a fun game. We've got some great information and tools for you on how you can implement the game in your chapter and make it fun. And look, if you're like, Gina, hey, we're not into like this whole formal growth thing, great. We have great news. The holidays are coming. What a fantastic reason to throw a party and to introduce people to the idea of networking. And nobody does networking better than BNI. We do it differently. We do it in the spirit of givers gain, which is how can I help someone else grow their business or something in their life that matters to them. So you could do a holiday social and just bring some people together and add some contacts to your database and meet some people and just have a little bit of fun. So choose your idea, choose the initiative, the approach that's going to work best for you in your chapter to help you and your members grow your business as we wrap up 2023 so that you are poised for success in 2024. Speaking of success, I'm going to hand it over to somebody who is super successful at building chapters, and that is our core launch manager, Andy Johnson.
Awesome, Gina. Thank you all so much. I'm really passionate about helping networks grow. And so for the people who are on this call or watching the YouTube, who I know of you as you are somebody who is very engaged, that you want growth, that you want to go all in with BNI. And I've seen a lot of different things that hold people back from being able to grow. And so put in the chat some objections you have. We have some things that we commonly hear. Hey, maybe you or your chapter members, I've invited everybody I know, right? If you feel like that, or I don't even know where to begin. I don't know what to say, or it feels inauthentic. And so put in the chat some things that are you hearing. And for one, I will, after working with thousands of people across the core and all sorts of rural communities, inner cities, suburban communities, from coast to coast, the one thing that I know, it's not really that people have invited everybody they know, but more so they've invited everybody they're comfortable inviting. And that's a little bit of a distinction, right? I've already had the conversation with everybody that I feel comfortable inviting. And so the world can actually open up for us as we start to become more comfortable, as we have more confidence in what to say. All right. So one thing that really actually got my mind shift right, that felt really good, is I was in Business Builders and I listened to a podcast or a keynote from Phil Berg. A lot of you might know Phil Berg. And when he talked about inviting, he says to invite, you should invite the people you care about to meet the people you care about. Feels really good. Right. And so when you're actually inviting the people you care about to meeting the people you care about, what that does in your brain is it starts to transition from you trying to spend some social capital to try to get somebody outside of your chapter to do something like, hey, will you come attend this meeting? Will you do this for me? Right? It's almost like you're asking a favor of something. Hey, come check this out. To when you invite someone you care about to meet somebody you care about, that's actually a gift you get to give away. It's actually a very generous thing that you get to do. Is to by being a connector. All right. So if we want to create more growth, if we want to create more inviting, we've actually got to make it hurt more to keep our business where it's at than the uncomfortability of having some intentional conversations about our group. All right. And so if people actually got present to how much revenue and relationships they're missing out on because their chapter is not growing, it's actually astonishing. Right? When you really start to think about it, about like, if I had a power team that had 15 people in my power team, I would have 100x return on investment. And I'm waiting to have those conversations, right? Some of us are just really comfortable because we don't know. And some of us, when we start to get uncomfortable, we go seeking for answers. We go seeking for growth. And I want to bring you some things that I know of how to get a chapter inviting and how to get a chapter growing, or maybe it's for you for your personal business. To really start that growth engine, we need 4 things. Number 1, you have to actually be committed to a mission that inspires you. Right. So if BNI is saying, hey, we have this growth event, that might inspire the team. But if it doesn't inspire you, you're probably not going to take action. If you are not lit up to go get that key referral partner that we don't have in the chapter, and you don't actually see that as that is a huge mechanism to grow your business, then guess what? We're all very busy people. You're going to do something else. So 1, growing your chapter, working on your network, working on your power team, that has to be something that personally inspires you. Number 2 is you have to have an approach you're comfortable with. Right. So reach out to your chapter success coach. There's these contents here. There's so many great advice. And guess what? Most of them works. The one that's going to work best for you is the one that you feel very in alignment, that feels like your voice. All right. The one that I recommend is, I network really closely. I got this from Tim Roberts. So I want to give him some credit. But the way that he would recommend inviting is say, hey, I network really closely with a great group of people. And while we were talking the other day, they discussed wanting to meet somebody who does what you do. Would you want to meet these people? And that just feels really good, right? So you need to have a mission that inspires you, an approach you're comfortable with. You need to have a realization of what success looks like. So sometimes we talk about inviting, talk about visitors, like we want a visitor in the room. And I think you need to get clear, do you want a visitor in the room, or do you want a teammate to join your chapter with you? Right? Because if I want somebody to check out a meeting and that's what I'm inviting for, that's what will probably happen. But if I want a synergistic referral partner that's going to show up and be a stand for my business, I'm going to be a stand for their business week after week after week after week, then that's actually what I need to be inviting for. I need to get somebody in that seat in my chapter so we can build a long-term synergistic referral partnership. All right. So when we talk about what does success look like, a lot of times it's about that, not just about coming to attend a meeting. And then the last thing is, when are you going to get it done? Accountability of when you're going to done. Are you going to invite somebody today? Are you going to invite it next week? Are you going to invite it? Are you going to invite it eventually, one day, someday? Maybe it's as common as I do it every day, just as common as I brush my teeth. I invite every day. Everybody I see, somebody who's in my community that is trying to grow their business because they're advertising, I'm going to extend an opportunity to meet the people that I network with. Right. And it's actually just a reflex. It's not even something that but if I see somebody who's advertising in a local community page, I'm gonna talk to that conversation. If I don't know them, I'm a networker. I'm gonna make it my business to get to know them. And so I want you, if you take anything from this call or from what I'm sharing, is catch people who are in your community who are spending money, resources to try to grow their business. For example, I share this a lot. There is somebody in my local grocery store who is spending money to advertise on the seat of the chair, right? So what happens is the lady sells life insurance. You go to the grocery store, you pull up the thing and babysit on her face every single day, right? It's just something that happens. But it's a really great, I mean, she sells life insurance and you have a kid that's sitting in a grocery chair. You're like, oh, I don't have life insurance yet. It makes a lot of sense. Right. So for one, that could be pretty strategic. But for me, when I see that, is like, this is somebody who is investing in her local community where I do business. I could add value to her life by connecting her with some of the other financial people that I network with. And here's what is really cool, whether your chapter is 5 members or 500 members, right? Whether your chapter is that, there are people you could add value to by connecting them to somebody else. Right? If you're in health and wellness, you can now talk to a business attorney because they want to talk to your commercial real estate agent that you have. Right? And so being in a chapter, regardless of the size you are, actually opens a lot of doors for you to have a lot of conversations. So we say in the bottom here, where are you going to find those to introduce some people? Prospecting. People who really get hungry to invite, they will give a lot of people there. But I want to make it as strategic as possible. So if you only had an hour and a half this week to invite, that you would use the most leverage use of your time. So what we teach in the launch program and what I teach for BNI members far and wide is, one, find people who are in your community. There's a lot of advertising things that they do that you can search by your zip code. They might be at chamber events. If you catch somebody who is locally, who is trying to grow their business, I want you to be able to see that. All right. The second thing is, if they are local, are they potentially spending money or efforts in it that would be greater than what BNI would require? And are they doing it in some other efficient? That is a great person to have the conversation with, right? Because here's one thing, if you really want to grow your business, all right? I do believe in Philberg, invite the people you care about to meet the people you care about. I think you should always start there. But guess what? If there's a referral partner in my community, if I just moved to your community, I don't know anybody, I'm going to make it my business to invite the people that I find to meet the people I care about. Because I don't know if they're great. I'm going to trust my membership committee to make sure they only let the best people into my chapter. But I want to network up. I want to find the people who are really up to something, and I want them to know my name. So guess what? If they don't know my name, I'm going to make it my business too. And when you actually realize how powerful you are, that you can walk into any successful, profitable business owner in your community and add value to their life by connecting them with somebody else and connecting them to you and put a structure like BNI in place, everything is. So my hope is that when you're talking about inviting, that the thought of being a beginner, trying something new, or spending a specific amount of your week towards this is actually much easier than the pain of letting your business be at a certain level because we don't want to grow. All right. So Jenni, back to you.
I like that. I wonder if there was one more. Jose had an interesting, I don't know, resistance, maybe objection that I have heard a lot. And I wonder if either you or Gina could address this, because it's an umbrella category for a lot of excuses that we hear. People say, well, that's why they don't come. I don't think they'll join. or the commitment will be too much for them. They're kind of pre-qualifying before they even invite. Do you have some, and I know you guys are both making the same face and shaking their heads because we go, no, but do you have, could you speak into that at all? Because we do hear it a lot that people will go, well, that person wouldn't be interested. I don't think they'll want to spend the money. It's too expensive. What do you say to those people?
Oh, I think, man, if somebody hasn't shared with me, because guess what? A lot of people, when I joined BNI, they would have judged me. Oh, I'm too busy, or that's not the right fit. But man, I mean, we all know that it is absolutely magical. And actually, this is a product that appeals to high performers. This is a time that actually, for somebody who is super busy, makes a lot of sense because it is the most efficient way to get in front of people. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing, if we start pre-qualifying, I would actually look inward. Maybe there's something in you that you don't believe that this is something else, right? That BNI is not for everybody. Maybe there's something in you that you need to get complete, so that you can really be an advocate. Because guess what? I am utter confidence, and I think you saw both Gina and I's face. We're like, what? Like, it doesn't even compute with us that we can add value with everyone by getting them in the chapter. So extending the opportunity, let other people make the decision. It might not be right for them, but guess what? There is absolutely that invitation that should be extended.
Yeah,
for sure.
To meet the people.
Well, and I think, Andy, we kind of say this a little bit tongue in cheek sometimes, but if I had the winning lottery numbers and didn't give them to you, right, would you be like, seriously? So it sort of seems to be that we have this incredible opportunity to open up people's network to connections and things that could add a ton of value. I mean, I love the whole idea of a gratitude event at the holidays. I remember Tim Roberts back in the day had that whole initiative of, have you thanked the person lately that invited you to BNI? I mean, it's so amazing. And so if we don't let other people know that it's available and then let them choose, one of the most successful people in my chapter was the dog walker. And not only did she start her dog walking business as a side hustle while she was working, as like a VP of HR at a large company here in Charlotte, she grew it so much through BNI that she ended up opening a dog daycare, a grooming salon. She had an army of dog walkers. And so her vision, the dream that she had for being an entrepreneur, was brought to life through the connections she made in BNI. So it's funny. Jenni, that question came up just as somebody put in the chat, what is the ideal number of members in a chapter? And the answer to that is, who knows?
More.
Shirleytown, right? As many as you can put in it. Shirleytown down the street has a chapter of 100, well, down the street, an hour from me, has a chapter of 152 people. You know why she has 152 people in a chapter? Because she believes she can.
Yeah.
And so you, and guess what? And she believes it can be bigger than that. And so we don't put a ceiling on it. Who knows what's possible, right? So it's a mindset issue first, Andrew, as I think, you alluded to, right? Mm-hmm. And it's funny, I remember being, and then I'll shut up, Jenni, because I know you have more slides. I remember being at a visitor's day one day back in the day when I was supporting the field here in Charlotte. And I don't even know how many people stood up and said, I'm here. Elisa Wenning invited me. I cold called her at her bricks and mortar business. And she said, oh no, there's a better way to do this. And so Andy, to your point, I mean, she sponsored so many people into BNI because she was like, why would you do this the hard way? There's such an easier way. So, it's just amazing. Anyway, All right, over and out.
Yep. So good. So I think the inviting people you care about to meet people you care about also circumvents a lot of those other things, as you're saying, Andy, to say, I'm not, who gets excited about a meeting? Few dorky people like me, like, ooh, I hope we get to sit in a boardroom. But most people don't get excited about meetings, but they get excited about potential for their business. And so I think Jim Rosemary, you said it in here. I don't invite people to a meeting. I invite them to meet professionals I'm connected to. And I think there's a subtle but very important difference when we do that. I know because we'll have some time for Q&A, but I want to get to this last section. What we are seeing statistically, especially in the US core chapters, is that we have more visitors now than we have practically at any time previously. We have more this time last year than we did, this time now than we did last year. And so we know that this part is working. We are getting the word out. You are seeing the value. Those of you who are getting the benefit from BNI, you are bringing people into your BNI chapters. But then what happens is we sometimes see a gap between those visitors who come to a chapter and them being converted into a member. That's what we call your conversion rate on your chapter traffic lights. We're converting visitors into members. And so I wanted to go through some things, not specifically visitor host orientation training, because I've done a little bit of that in the last few weeks, because I know very few of you are actually going to be the person in the orientation. If you are, great. I know you've heard my voice a lot, but this is for anybody in the chapter to think about what this process is when you are meeting people to add to your network and how we want to bring them into our chapters. When I was a BNI member, my seat was as a professional speaker. And that meant that a lot of times, because I had a very strategic referral partner in my chapter, I was serving as an MC at nonprofit fundraising events. So I was going to make sure that I would introduce the speaker, make sure everybody knew what was happening next on the agenda, keep it running on time. And at the end of a nonprofit fundraising event, imagine if you had been to this lovely gala with 300 or 400 people and everybody's fancy dress, and they've heard about the wonderful work that this nonprofit has done in the community. And they've listened to people who've been helped by this nonprofit. And they are excited to know that this is right where they live and work. And then at the end of the evening, the MC says, "Thank you so much for coming. Good night." And the people in the audience would say, "What do you mean? I want to volunteer. I want to give money. I want to somehow be involved in this," but they weren't given the information or the opportunity. And so what we're doing in a chapter meeting, when you have a flawlessly executed meeting and the referrals and testimonials are really referrals and testimonials, and your feature presentations are on point, and it is working the way it was designed to work with Pure BNI, your visitors are going to be eager. What's next? What can I do next? And we know from focus groups, we've interviewed visitors who have joined and visitors who have not joined. Over and over again, they tell us, we leave and we don't know how to apply. And so the orientation and the follow-up to a meeting are clutch. And part of that is on your visitor host and the ones who's doing the orientation, and they are also making the phone calls, but part of that can be chapter wide as well. So it's in your inviting and your expectations, in your invitations, your visitors don't need to know every little thing about how BNI works, that you don't have to talk them out of joining because of the stringent attendance policy. You don't need to tell them all the hoops they'll have to jump through. You are introducing them to people. Then you are going to have a really great meeting. And you are going to do your best to be prepared. You are going to be a really good member because it's good for your business and it's good for your visitors. Your visitor host team has been trained thoroughly on this orientation and the follow-up call, and we want them to see the value of referrals, that we want to explain to them what they just saw. And then the follow-up is to answer those questions. So just know that those things are happening. Your visitor hosts have been trained very specifically on that. And if a visitor comes, holy cow, if a visitor comes and that visitor is in your contact sphere, by all means, ask your visitor host if you can sit in on the orientation. And then you're going to have opportunities there or in open networking or as you follow up to tell your BNI story. This is a powerful way for you to express the benefits of BNI, as well as to give someone irrefutable facts about your own life with which they cannot dispute. They can't say that didn't happen to you. They can't say this isn't true of your business. So when you tell your story, I used to post stuff on LinkedIn and Facebook all the time, and I was getting really inconsistent referrals. I joined here and I'm getting referrals every week for my business, for my ideal clients, no less. It can be as short as that. But if you are prepared to tell every visitor you talk to who comes to your chapter about your BNI story, they are going to hear story after story after story after story of successes and how you've grown both professionally and personally because of those relationships you've developed with quality business professionals. So I just wanted you to get an overview of how that process works, because it's not just the visitor host job to make sure your visitors become members. It is all of your jobs, and your meetings were designed with your visitor in mind. That's why you have an introduction of your leadership team every week. If we weren't having visitors, there's no reason for me to introduce myself as president every week. You know I'm your president because I do this 50 times a year. But because we have visitors, and there are other things in the agenda expressly designed for our visitor experience. So whatever your role is on the leadership team or not, knowing that the meeting is designed for visitors and you can tell your story and you can make those connections as a follow-up. There is an attorney in Canada, I love to tell this story over and over again, who's the visitor host in his chapter over and over again. But even if he weren't the visitor host, something tells me he would do this. He reaches out to every visitor who comes to his chapter, and he gets on average 4 referrals a month from the visitors, whether they ever come back or not. So this is also about expanding your network, but it's about making relationships, making introductions. Maybe in that follow-up coffee, you discover they have a connection to somebody in your chapter and you can still do business together. So this is not just a visitor host thing, but there is a method to our madness, and we want you to be a part of the madness too. All right, let's just explain these resources that I know you have uploaded a couple of times, and then we'll do Q&A, Steve. Andy has been so gracious to give us a growth tip every week for your chapter success coaches in our weekly newsletter. I just pulled 10 of them from here because that seemed like a good number. But if you are looking for things even beyond this, your chapter success coach has access to dozens of these. So feel free to reach out to that person and you'll be able to have a good conversation about that. And it includes things like just prospecting on LinkedIn and looking at a video of a training that one of the team from the launch team, John Durso, is that who it was? Andy? Yeah. He talked about how to strategically go through LinkedIn. And then there's also some resources, even if you're not on the visitor host team, there are some resources to help with that conversion process, ways that the whole chapter can be involved in making the membership experience more compelling for a visitor in follow-up and in telling stories and different things like that. Also good sales tips for your businesses. That's the fire hose we brought with us, Steve.
Well, for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, go to the description in the YouTube listing and we'll have a link to the growth tips so that you can download those as well. Thanks, Jenny. Ready for some Q&A?
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah, we've got some great questions in there.
All right. Jennifer's asking, I would love to hear some golden nuggets on member retention and visitor impressions.
Gina?
I mean, so when it comes to retention, I'm going to say, first and foremost, it's run pure BNI. Yeah. Just run pure BNI, which means follow the agenda, embrace the hidden elements. That's the that's the special sauce to our 2 all beef patties and all the other rest of it, right? So when you run a great meeting and you engage the visitors and you energize the members, and you help the visitors feel welcome and comfortable and included, that's a bonus for everyone. And I think retention really happens when we do the things we've been talking about. We help members in the spirit of our core philosophy of Givers Gain to build out their contact sphere, which is the referral team within their referral team. So I think that leads to retention as well. The other thing I'm going to say is implement the attendance policy. If you're not currently using the attendance policy in your chapter, I invite you to consider the importance of it as a key foundational element of pure BNI. And I'd be happy to have that conversation with anybody who wants to offline at another time. But hopefully that answers that question, unless the other 2 of you have anything you'd like to add. The 7-month check-in, another key retention piece.
I am just uploading a document into the chat that might be helpful.
Yes.
For vice presidents and membership committees as a way to just keep a rhythm in mind to keep your members. As part of that BNI, pure BNI, we want a great member experience. And so if we can keep some things, 777s, we can win with 777s, 7-month review or a check-in every member every year. We want to have a 7-day application process. So those new visitors who want to become members go through the application process very quickly. And we want to have renewals all approved by the 7th of the month before. So we are just humming along, and that stuff becomes automatic as a cadence. And then you can concentrate on passing referrals and doing what you need to do to help each other's businesses grow.
All right. We have 2 questions about stats here. Jessica's asking, do we have any high-level stats on BNI's metrics, retention, growth overall, areas that are hot, etc.? And then Danielle is asking about how can we find current figures such as number of members, how many countries, how many referrals, and how much, and thank you for Close Business.
I think some of that's on BNI.com, right, Steve?
Yes,
but not all of it, because it's
correct. Danielle, your question about how many members and things like that and how much revenue, that is updated every month on BNI.com. Just go to BNI.com and scroll down a little bit and you'll see those stats, and they're updated every month. I don't know if we have any other stats to share, if Jenny or anyone else knows about metrics on retention and growth, other than maybe just running your own chapters, the chapter traffic lights.
Yeah, and I think the faster we can get new members on board with all the things that will help them be successful, the better the overall retention will be. So helping them get through the passport to success, very important, so they can build relationships. First year member essentials, shameless plug. All the things that you can do to get them to understand their role and the success of BNI, the sooner the better.
Okay. All right. Some of you are not seeing the documents that are being uploaded in the chat. That is because you probably have an older version of Zoom that has not been updated, so you can't see them.
Or they're on a device, maybe.
Yeah, could be. So we will, of course, put that in the description in the YouTube channel, so you can look that up later. Okay, is there a difference between the approach of growing an online chapter versus an in-person chapter?
Andy, what do you say about that? You guys launched how many online chapters in 2020?
Yeah, I would say I don't think so. I mean, really, if we take invite the people we care about to meet the people we care about, some of the secret in inviting, it doesn't just happen in a chapter meeting, right? If there's somebody that, if you really, it's about making the connection, invite people you care about to meet the people you care about, then guess what? If there's somebody that's at that meeting, whether it's virtual or in person, that you want them to meet, introduce them before the meeting. Set up a 3-way email, set up a 3-way text saying, hey, I network with this person. This person actually was discussed wanting to network with somebody in your industry and wanting to connect. And then guess what? A lot of those touch points actually start to happen in digital communication, whether it's a 3-way text, a 3-way email. And then the meeting is actually just one extra step in the process. And what happens, especially if you can connect them a little bit early on, the meeting is just a conclusion. Do you want to join or not? Because all of this is being set up. So I would say, no, absolutely start making connections in the same way that you wouldn't wait till the meeting to deliver a referral. You would start to give that referral to your chapter member any day of the week. And put it in the app, that person in the app would get the referral. Same thing with the visitor. If you were inviting somebody to meet somebody specifically at the meeting, help that connection happen as fast as possible and let the meeting be touch point number 3 or 4 for you.
All right. Is there a relationship between the growth and the time of a BNI chapter meeting?
Can I address this one, Steve? I know Andy's shaking his head too. Yeah, so to me, that's an excuse at the risk of just being really like, that's how I see it. That's one of those things where we have members who say, oh, that won't work in our town, or our town's too small, or we can't get tradespeople in our chapter because we meet at 7 a.m. You're in the chapter, right, at 7 a.m. So there's other people that you care about that you would want to invite to meet the people you're meeting with that you care about. And I think a lot of times we use those in Sandler vernacular, for those who are familiar with that, we call that head trash. That's our own head trash talking. No, Andy's not going to want to come to a 7 a.m. meeting. Or, okay, then you know what? My husband's a general contractor. he's getting people off and running at 7 a.m. So he sends his office manager or his business development person or someone to represent him in BNI. If we all have the time and money for the things that we really want to do, people will find a way or they will make one. So don't prejudge them on the time or the location or their classification. Just invite them out to meet people you care about. See what happens.
Yeah. All right. Arnaldo is asking, if we already have a referral agreement with someone, why should they join BNI?
Because they want to do business with more than one person, I'm guessing.
That's what makes sense to me.
And
Well,
Jenni,
also
you
add,
mentioned it
it's gonna
earlier.
be, let me just say, it would be super awkward if somebody else got the seat, right? So what I'm hearing is you have a referral relationship, right? Like some of us have our favorite hairstylist we go to. It'd be super weird if the other hairstylist joined your chapter, right? Or a lot of us go to a dentist and you haven't invited your dentist to the meeting. It'd be weird if another dentist joined your chapter, because who do you give your business to? Do you give the one that you've always given your business to, and maybe they give it back? Or do you give it to the one that's actually showing up to your business every week and adding value, right? Like a lot of us, hopefully we're driving around with insurance of our cars, but the insurance agent in your chapter is showing up to help your business every single week. So you got to get them plugged into this system that is working with you, right? And so I would run to make sure somebody else didn't get, so you could have that alignment to continue to refer to the people that you really like, and put some synergy around all of that.
And Andy, not only that, I was going to say too, Jenni mentioned earlier, BNI isn't just your referral network. It is your resource network to scale your business. You know, I saw, Rob Herald mentioned in the chat earlier, he's a realtor. His clients ask him all the time, who can walk my dog for me? Who's your dentist? Who can you connect me to? So it's so much more. We bring so much more value to the equation for our customers and other people in our network when we're super connected. So that's another reason I think it's so much more than just this referral opportunity at the moment, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Jim Rosemary had a good point here. Even pre-existing relationships are enhanced. They might even get more referrals from that person they're already doing business with because they're in front of them every single week as a BNI member.
Okay, Lori is curious if anyone has music going on in the background at their meeting. I know Jenni likes some music to get the meeting started.
Yeah,
Get
I do
y'all
like it at the
excited,
beginning.
right?
Yeah, I think it's hard to do throughout any kind of conversation because on Zoom, it still will cut people out, just like when one person talks over another person. But at the beginning, and if you can, just be entertaining each other in the chat, or have that in the breakout main room and you're putting people into breakout rooms, I think it can bring some energy to a meeting, but I think it's hard to have going while anybody's talking.
Yeah.
Personally.
And I would say too, Jenni, one of the things we've learned, if you have an online chapter, it is super important to mirror the in-person open networking to the extent you can by having predetermined breakout rooms and whatnot, so that you don't have just 20 or 30 people on a screen where 2 people are having a conversation and the rest of the attendees can't be included. And so I think we would say that it's another reason why there's some fun elements to an online meeting. You can do things like music, and at the same time, the ability to connect is so important that we do want to mirror that open networking to the extent that we can in an online meeting. So yeah, I know that wasn't really the topic, but.
Well, Lori's saying that her meeting is in person. So I'm curious if the music is going straight through the entire meeting for the whole 90 minutes. That seems like a lot to me.
I would be distracted personally.
Yeah.
Do you have only old people in your chapter? Maybe younger people than Steve and me wouldn't mind.
I like to pay attention. Okay. Here's a great question, and it comes up a lot. What is the practical upper limit on chapter size?
The sky.
I'm assuming this is one of those chapters. Dirk is in a chapter that's got a lot of people in it, but maybe not. Who has a good answer to this one?
I mean, I think one of the things the original meeting agenda is designed to accommodate roughly 38 to 40 people in a 90-minute format where everyone has a 60-second presentation. So then as you grow the chapter, there are large chapter adjustments that are available to you in the leadership team manual. And I would say to you guys that if you look around the world at BNI, particularly in APAC, in Asia Pacific, they launched chapters at 75.
Yeah.
They launched chapters at 120. So venue size matters. The fish can't grow any larger than the bowl environment that you put them in. So we've got to think about that too, you know, when we're thinking about venues for our chapter meetings. But I think the sky really is the limit, because the thing is, if you think about it too, sometimes people will say, well, but I can't get to know all those people. And you have to be strategic about it. There's no doubt. I think there's a couple of things there though. Number one, the core of your referrals comes from your contact sphere. So your referral team inside the larger referral team, that large referral team serves as a resource for your business, as a marketing mechanism for the whole chapter. And you're going to build those relationships over time. And you really can do it if you're strategic about the way you invest in your marketing strategy. So there's a huge opportunity there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. And finally, our last question, how can members access the Power of One report for their chapter?
That is on BNI Business Builder. Your coach may be sending it to your president, but your coach definitely gets it sent to them each month at the beginning of the month. I believe Jeremy Walsh has said that all of those things will be ready. And then in the US core, we have somebody who helps break it out by region and chapter with tabs for each chapter. I believe that's done by like the 4th or the 5th of the month in a perfect world. And that's why we also recommend having your chapter success meetings after that date each month, so that you have fresh data that you're having a conversation, but it's not so late or so early that whatever you're looking at is irrelevant. You have enough of the month ahead of you. I would think a perfect rhythm for your chapter success meeting would be about the 2nd week of the month, because then you have all the statistics you need from the week before, and you still have enough of the month ahead of you that you can make some changes and meet your goals. But that should be available the 1st week of every month.
All right. That is going to do it for Q&A. So I think you've got a lot of great information today. Hopefully you were able to download these cool cheat sheets and things to reference and bring back to your chapters. And for that person in the chat who asked about chapter traffic lights versus member traffic lights, right? So the chapter traffic lights you can access on BNI Connect in the reports section, and that measures the performance of the chapter as a whole as opposed to the individuals. Right.
Yeah, good distinction.
All right, before we sign off, Gina, Andrew, Jenny, any final words of advice to these members?
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And it's just, I think where we're at in the year with the new term, there's a lot of possibilities ahead. And so I would encourage everybody to make a decision to go for it. There's a lot of things you can do to work on your business, but growing your network is one of the most highly leveraged, valuable things that you can do to take your business to the next level.
All right, thank you very much.
No doubt.
So,
I put the link to the Power of One for Core in the chat if anybody
great.
is here from Core that wants it.
Great.
Steve, can we send you these documents? When you look in the chat, will you be able to attach these documents in a follow-up email?
Yeah, I already downloaded them. I've got them.
Great.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome.
So next week, it just happens to be Friday the 13th, and we just happen to have a psychic joining us. So very cool. This is a BNI chapter member. She's the president of our chapter. She's totally blew me away because I was like, a psychic? Who is this person? Is it Miss Cleo? It's not Miss Cleo. This is someone who's pretty amazing and is really going to be talking about making business decisions or life decisions and using intuition and logic. And it's a really impressive presentation. So don't miss that one. And we'll see you all next week. Give yourselves a CEU and please give our presenters some good scores on the survey that's going to pop up in your browser right now. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time.
We want to keep our jobs.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.